Oh, thank you. I think it's because I'm desperate for attention, and this makes me feel and seem interesting when I'm really not. It's the hair thing too. Anyone can do this. Just it's Tresemme hairspray in a blow dryer. Hey, America. Welcome to Get to Know the CEO. It's hosted by America's sweetheart, Eric Ryan. You're never going to believe this. I am America's sweetheart, Eric Ryan. The aim of this show is to humanize corporate America through the magic and power of stupid questions. And today's CEO, her answers are wildly unpretentious, which is what this show should be about. She's not acting as if. I think she gave me real answers, but we're going to find out. Today's CEO from CyberOne Security, Tera Davis, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I appreciate the ask.
Don't mention it. So you're here to bare your soul to the American public through the 5 questions of doom. I want to remind everybody what the 5 questions of doom are. They are your 3 favorite bands, your 3 favorite movies, your 3 favorite books, your death row meal, and your favorite quote. So we're going to cover those here today. I said this off air. I said it again in the intro. I love your answers because I cannot talk about the 7 highly effective, what are the 7 effective, highly, you know that book.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
That's the one. How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Alchemist, the 21 Immutable Laws of blah, blah, blah. I just can't do it anymore. But
I got none of that for you.
I haven't read your books, but there's a theme and we're going to get to that. But first, your bands. Okay. I have a lot to say about your bands, but I'm going to let you start since this is your show. Your first favorite band, Hootie and his Blowfish.
Yes.
Why do Hootie and the Blowfish speak to your soul?
Because their lyrics are so great. There's a lot of love songs in it. There's a lot of happiness. There's some, deep emotion. I just think he's great with the lyrics, and I like how they sound just kind of a cool vibe.
I'm glad you brought up the lyrics because I have something to say about the lyrics. Hootie and the Blowfish. So Cracked Rear View came out in 1994. I was 13. Yeah. I certainly didn't like they.
Oh my God.
Well, they were I think they're the physical manifestation of the channel VH1. Like they are VH1. Anything VH1 was trying to accomplish is Hootie and the Blowfish. I didn't hate them. I just didn't care. Like they just weren't, around that same time, you had Nirvana was sort of on the way out, but you had Doggy Style and The Chronic and the Black Album, and there was like a lot of stuff happening for teenage boys that wasn't Hootie and the Blowfish. But
to be fair, during that time, I was definitely not a teenage boy. So
right, so this is like a lot of your answers are one of those I am not offended by. It just wasn't for me, but it fascinates me that people were into this. So the lyrics were a problem for Hootie and the Blowfish because a lot of record executives at the time wanted dark, grungy, Alice in Chains, Nirvana-esque type lyrics. So they were criticized for their lyrics. They got passed up by every single label. They eventually sank 10 grand into making an independent record called Coochie Pop. Did you know this?
No.
So Coochie Pop was essentially Cracked Rear View, just done on their own dime. The reason it got attention is that Southern independent record stores were putting Coochie Pop on the shelves, and it was outselling everything. It was outselling Pearl Jam. It was outselling Metallica. So finally, somebody at Atlantic was like, we have to sign these guys. Atlantic signed them. They were put under the A&R tutelage of Jason Flom, who's gone on to do amazing things like Katy Perry. I mean, amazing, but lots of albums. Katy Perry, Stone Temple Pilots, Twisted Sister. Like he's got a roster. He heard Cracked Rear View, and he said it had no singles and it was unreleasable.
Wow.
Did you know it became the fastest selling debut album of all time? Like this, I'm obsessed with this idea. This guy, this was his job to find talent. And so
and you messed it up.
You couldn't have messed it up worse. It beat Appetite for Destruction as the fastest selling debut album of all time. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. And a nice segue.
And well, one more second. Because I feel compelled to defend Darius Rucker even more. So I'm just obsessed with this idea, like small twists of fate. Obviously, they dominate our entire lives, like who we meet, who we marry, who our friends are, where we go to school. Like there's these small moments. I don't know which one of these other dudes in the band discovered him, but Darius Rucker was taking a shower in college and singing Billy Joel in the shower, and another guy heard him, one of these guys in the band. It was like, hey, do you want to start a band? Because Rucker was singing. It just happened to take a shower, just happened to sing Billy Joel. This guy loved Billy Joel, and they started a band. And then you have, what we're looking at is 4 multimillionaires. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think his voice is very soulful, right? There's something just soothing and soulful about his voice to me.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I think, so if you read some of the comments and the thing, first of all, I don't know how often you read YouTube comments, but anytime you go and read YouTube comments about any particular work of art, everybody says it makes them cry. So Hootie and the Blowfish is making a lot of people cry. I don't know if you know that. But the other thing is they had to deal with racism. Like they talk about how often, because they would play like fraternities in the South and they just hated the fact that a black dude was there. And it's, if you listen to the music now, outside of the cultural moment, because they're accused of being like the Nickelback of their time for whatever. I mean, I think they were soft rock and everybody hates that, but if you take out the cultural moment, they're good songs. There's guitar solos in them. I lament the death of the guitar solo. It's just, if you can forget Hootie and the Blowfish was Nickelback in 1994, I think they're legitimately good. It's easy listening.
Yes. Yes.
See, I have a lot to say about Hootie, even though when I was 13, I didn't really care. But this is the band I do care about quite a bit. Guns N' Roses. A natural segue. Most people that love Hootie and the Blowfish also love Guns N' Roses, I think, right?
Yes. No.
Why Guns N' Roses?
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about lyrics again? Woo. So yesterday, if you recall, I did a last minute switch because I got in my car and the song that came up on my playlist was Night Train. And I was like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I've seen them in concert multiple times.
Did Axl show up when you saw him in concert?
Yeah. And actually the last one was November of 21. Okay. And he was great. I think I missed the part where he was, whacked out on stage, but I think they've got great lyrics. I think they've got obviously very talented musicians in that group. Who doesn't love a good kind of hard rock hair band at the same time? They were also like,
they're certainly, I mean, look at their hair, but they were like darker and grittier than most hair bands. Their lyrics, like I'm a big Poison fan, but Poison's lyrics and Guns N' Roses lyrics are night and day different.
Not even on the same page. That's right.
There was an element of
lyrics are a bit more frat boy-ish, really kind of bad, dirty frat boy-ish. Guns N' Roses, they can get a little bit dark, but they're also just very, very, they're very good. I mean, I used to love her, but I had to kill her. That's great.
Yeah, no, everyone can relate to that. What I felt was odd too is just I was trying to be like, okay, so they were dangerous. Like I watched the behind the music on them in preparation for it, which was done in 2004. Slash was so drunk all the time that they had to prop him up for photograph sessions. Axl pissed everybody off all the time. He would start riots. Like he started a riot at one of the concerts because somebody was taking a picture of him. Can you imagine if that shit happened today? 2 people died at one of their concerts because they were trampled to death. And then I was like, I tried to think in my head, like, can you imagine X band today doing that? But there are no rock and roll bands today. Like that, like Mumford and Sons.
Not like
no one, they are
not like that. There aren't, but you're right. People can't behave that way today.
No.
Morgan Wallen got drunk and threw a chair, and that went all over social media. You can't behave that way. People don't want to go and show up for that kind of stuff.
No, and that's crazy because that's what rock and roll was for so long. And I think like perfect example of this is Dave Grohl recently got somebody pregnant out of wedlock, and everyone's like all up in arms. I was like, what do you think rock and roll drummers and lead singers do? Why are we upset? What do you? Tiger eats meat. Oh shit, really? That's crazy. Like what happened around
go to any college campus and you're going to find somebody that got knocked up out of wedlock.
I know. Here's the other thing too. Nobody gets into rock and roll to not attract women. Like that, I think that's one of the big things you want to do. And then once you're there, they're throwing themselves at you all the time. And Dave Grohl's what, 60 something years old? He's going to cave eventually. So I'm not
exactly.
I don't want to give him a pass for what he did necessarily, but
Yeah.
Yes. This was part of the behind the music too. So yeah, Metallica. Well, there was at least one story. James Hetfield gets burned by the pyro. The audience is losing their minds. Axl Rose could have saved the day, but he had some sort of audio issue with his headphones, so he just fucking storms off. And then there's a riot. So yes, he is an egomaniac. But here's the thing about, like, I think every great artist has to be out of their mind to some degree. I think that's what's causing me not to be a great artist. I'm too even keeled. If I had a heroin addiction or a horrible childhood, I think I would have been more.
You could be a it right up there. No question. Again, go to the lyrics. There's no question that these people, especially Axl, were troubled in some way. Look at, you talked about Nirvana earlier. I mean, that very, very oftentimes goes hand in hand. I don't think that's a shock.
No, I think you almost need it. And I do think Axl Rose belongs in the pantheon of great frontmen. Like, I think Steven Tyler, Robert Plant, Freddie Mercury, Mick Jagger, and Axl Rose are like the perfect frontmen for rock and roll bands. He crushed it. He's a gigantic asshole.
That kind of screaming voice, but it's still good.
Yeah, they say something like, I don't know anything about music, but they say he can hit all 5 octaves, and that's like rare, and he's a savanti in some sort of way, which bears out. Here's what I love too, is that together they achieved greatness. Separately, they couldn't really do anything. Velvet Revolver was okay. Axl Rose's version of Guns was terrible. Like they needed this.
Each other. Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to. All right. Well, I don't have a lot of opinions.
Do you think the guy on the left is using LA looks, or what kind of hairspray to get that effect?
If I had to, I'm going to go a moose base. I think he's done. Okay. And then I'm going LA look on top of that. Yeah. That is, they're gorgeous men. And this is the original lineup. And now I don't think, Steven Adler is dead. I think he's the one next to the right of Axl, and Izzy quit the band right after Use Your Illusion. So, but rest in peace, my friend. Okay. This guy, you're from Texas. I would imagine country music is a thing down there.
Yes.
Yeah. I know nothing about George Strait. I did a little research. Evidently, he's the king of country.
He is. He's just the king. You don't have to say of country. You can just say the king.
No, I think Elvis is the king.
Okay, but come on. George is still alive, so he's an alive king.
Okay.
He's fantastic. And I just saw him in concert last November. He doesn't do anything. He had a round stage, and he had a setup in 3 different spots on that round stage, and he'd sing a few songs at one, and he'd walk over and sing a few songs at another. But he's just a great guy. He doesn't get into trouble. He is clean cut. He's good looking. He's 70-something years old, and he's still putting out music, and just great.
So this got me thinking, okay, this brings me back to Hootie and the Blowfish, because I found, talking about music, that when you talk about music that supposedly is hated, I find it very hard to hate in retrospect, but I can like. So I love Led Zeppelin. I wasn't around when Led Zeppelin, but disco is something that's, hated, but I can't work up hatred for disco because it didn't affect my life. The same thing with Hootie and the Blowfish. I can't hate Hootie because there was plenty of music for me to listen to. It just wasn't for me. What I do hate now is this modern country that's played everywhere. You cannot escape it. This Nickelback with twang shit. Yeah. I hate every ounce of it.
The cross-pollination of country and pop.
Oh, it's the worst. The worst 2 things to have a baby were those 2 things. And now they did.
That is not George Strait. I'll tell you that right now.
No, so that was my point. So I went and listened to George Strait. I found him, although it's not my music, I find him to be charming. I find him to be a little disarming. And I watched the video for The Chair. When I first read You Should Listen to The Chair, I thought The Chair was going to be about the death penalty. No. I was very confused.
It is not about
the video for The Chair. I don't know if you've seen it recently.
I don't know. He tried his hand at acting, not his forte.
No.
Sticking with, he's not a triple threat. Yeah, stick with singing.
I don't know if he's like accidentally hilarious, but some of the videos, first of all, they all open with a scene of a horse. I don't know if you've seen it. Every single video, it's a horse. Here's the other thing that fascinates me. He has 60 #1 hits on the country charts. 60.
Yeah.
That's
a lot.
I think about this in terms, so my mother, Irish Catholic family, she's one of 11. I can't imagine having 7 kids and going, you know what, we need 4 more of these. Like once you hit 35 hits, I'm going to retire. I've had enough. Not this guy. He keeps going.
No.
300 million.
Let's talk about that for a second. The same thing happens with people in business, right? You think like, I'm going to achieve this. And then once I get there, I'm going to retire. The people who get to this aren't made of the stuff that makes them want to retire.
I know. I think about that all the time too. Like Larry King loved interviewing people. He was doing it when he was incoherent, 95, didn't know what the fuck he was saying, but you couldn't pry the thing out of his hands. It is one of those things where the attribute that gets you to wealth and success is the same that won't let you quit. So
that's right.
300 million in the bank. Not bad.
Not bad. I would take it, but I would retire.
Oh, me too. Look, after the first album, I'd be the see you later.
But listen, he doesn't do like world tours, right? He's living his best life in Bernie, Texas, going to the grocery store, and then just deciding to record a song here and there. That's not a bad gig either if it keeps you.
Not a bad gig. Singing about chairs and horses, not a bad thing. And it says here, he's one of the few country artists who managed to avoid crossover pop trends, staying true to traditional country music throughout his career. True. I applaud that for you, because this shit, here's the thing about this new country. I can't escape it. You go to a brewery, they're playing it. You go fucking to a restaurant, they're playing it. Anyone on the beach. I live in Massachusetts and they're blasting this stuff. How we can relate to pickup trucks and fucking whatever, the jeans. Why country sings about jeans, I'll never know. No other genre of music sings about pants the way that country sings about jeans. Can you help me understand this? No one sings about khakis.
Too funny.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Your 3 favorite movies. The Shawshank Redemption, in my estimation, is the 2nd greatest movie of all time, right behind Billy Madison. But The Shawshank Redemption, I would argue, is a perfect movie. How do you feel about it?
I agree. I realize there are some scenes in there that are maybe displeasing, but I think at the end of the day, it's really the perfect story for grit. I mean, Tim Robbins' character, Andy, in that movie, that guy's got determination and grit. He was wrongfully accused and he is getting the hell out of there. And who does that? Like at night, picking away behind a poster. I mean, just so smart, so well done. Morgan Freeman does a fantastic job in the movie as well. I love it. It's not a happy feel-good movie, but it's a great, great movie.
I think it's happy in the sense that he gets out. I mean, he has to pick away.
Spoiler alert. What if someone hasn't seen it yet?
I'm going to spoil everything on this list. It came out in 1994. If you have, we've given you, I can't do the math. It's been a long time. If you haven't seen Shawshank Redemption, plus it's the only thing that TBS plays. Go turn your television or TNT, both of them. This and Tombstone.
Or Law and Order.
Or Law and Order. So you haven't seen this. I don't know. You're never going to see it. I say this about the period between 1990 and 1995 a lot. I think that period had the best music, movies, and television, perhaps in the history of mankind. In a 28-month
college days, and I would be able to agree with that for sure.
Listen to what came out in a 28-month span in Hollywood. You had this, Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, Goodfellas, Schindler's List, Unforgiven, Braveheart, all the Adam Sandler movies, Tommy Boy, fucking Wayne's World. I think Jurassic Park maybe sneaks in there too. It was just unbelievable movie after unbelievable movie after unbelievable album. I mean, that is a golden age of entertainment.
It really is. I never thought about it like that, but it's really true.
I'm telling you. Plus, this movie is in the holy trinity of non-horror Stephen King movies. Stand By Me, The Green Mile, and Shawshank are all ungoddamn believable.
Green Mile, another great, great movie.
Directed by the same guy, Frank Darabont. Who also did the first season of The Walking Dead and was a writer on the best Nightmare on Elm Street, which is the 3rd one. See what we're learning about this? Here's the thing too about The Shawshank Redemption. It's a great movie in totality, but there's a lot of big affected moments, like the beers on the rooftop after they do the tarring, the playing of the opera when he finally gets music into the place and locks himself in. Brooks was here. The parole board speech by Morgan Freeman.
Such a moment in that movie. Oh.
And then to go back and repeat it, and you think Morgan Freeman's going to do the same thing, but instead he skips bail. And I think one of the underrated scenes is once Andy escapes, they're all telling tales of Andy around the cafeteria. Like they're all laughing about this stuff. Like the time they had the beers on the roof. It's just an unbelievable movie.
It's great.
Nominated for 7 Academy Awards. I think they should do a sequel.
They should, right? What happened to Andy?
Oh, well, okay, one more thing, and I say every time I talk about this movie, I mention this. This was the only time in the history of cinema that test audiences were right, because originally the movie just ended with him getting out of prison, doing the little like this scene where he's in the rain washing off the shit.
Yeah.
Audiences didn't like that. They didn't know what happened to Morgan Freeman, so they had to go back and reshoot that scene where Andy's on the boat and Morgan Freeman's walking towards him, and then the camera pulls back. 100%.
And that's the best part.
I know.
You're right. That was
generally terrible. But in this case, we needed that. Okay. Adding to things that were never on my radar. I'd ask why you love Grease, but I think am I going to get in trouble with this? Lots of women enjoy musicals, particularly this one. I think that's safe to say, isn't it?
I think think so. I mean, first of all, look at that picture. That is a handsome couple right there. Let's just start with that. I loved Olivia Newton so much that I even liked Xanadu.
Whoa, that's bold. You
I
really
mean,
celebrate all of her catalog.
Correct. When I was 10, this was my favorite movie. So clearly my mother did not understand that the entire thing was around sexual innuendo. And at 10, I didn't get that either. So watching it later in life was like, oh, wow, you probably shouldn't have let me watch that when I was 10.
Yeah, it's all those thinly veiled lyrics. I mean, yeah. I think it's pretty...
But it's just so good. Girl meets boy over summer vacation, and lo and behold, there they are. They couldn't be more different from each other, and then end up together, and it's just so cute, and they're so handsome, and it's great.
We do have baked into the American psyche, I think, a nostalgia for a time we didn't live in, i.e. the 1950s. So like, I'm a big, this is my only issue with this movie. Okay, this is the thing I say a lot in life, which is that sometimes it's okay not to have an opinion on something. And I worship the altar of Chris Rock. And he had this great line where I think it was like TMZ caught him at a Jonas Brothers show because he was bringing his kids. And they're like, they were trying to bait him into talking shit about the Jonas Brothers. And he's like, listen, man, I'm a black guy in my 40s. They're not making music for me. They're making music for my kids. So I'm here. Yeah. That's what this is to me. So like, this was not for, me. Having said that, my only issue is my thing with Greasers, and obviously the hair is sort of inspired. I think it was like Elvis in The Outsiders. And then I see this and I'm like, oh God.
But they do like they're drag racing and for pink slips and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's greatness.
Which would be fine if they didn't break it out into song. You know what I mean? Just drag racing. You don't need show tunes. I mean, you do for your purposes, but for mine, just knife fight and call it a day.
Yeah.
But I mean, universally beloved by a certain demographic. This is one of those movies too, where you had like 35-year-olds playing teenagers, which is
yes, it's true. That's so true. Rizzo was not high school.
I think Rizzo was a grandmother by the time she was shooting this thing, but she sold it really well. I will say about Travolta too, because I rewatched Pulp Fiction recently for an episode of this. He does have a goofy charm about him. It's hard not to like John Travolta.
True.
Okay. All right. Ready? This one, Finding Nemo. Why Finding Nemo?
So a few things. One, it's a feel-good movie.
Yep.
Right? Kid gets lost. Dad finds him, all the determination and all of those things. Two, my oldest son, this movie must have come out when he was about 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think within a year I could recite the entire script of the movie.
Yeah. There was a time in this world where kids
was his favorite. Kind of was his favorite movie. I scuba dive. I love all the underwater characters. I love how the sharks are dumb kind of and don't even realize what they are in the movie. It's just fun. It's a fun, feel-good movie at the end, even though there's some stress in the middle there where he's out searching and trying to find his son. And also remember, Nemo is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like the other fish. He's got a gimp fin. So it's also a story about, kind of getting on through life when you're not like everybody else.
Yeah. You know what sucks about this movie though? Ellen DeGeneres is so funny. She was so funny for so long. Yeah. And then she had this period where she started hosting a daytime show and then everybody hates her now for some reason, but she is so good in this. And she's so good in other, her stand-up is fucking great. It's just doing my research and remembering this. I just, how good she was and how hated she is now. That's because she was on top of the world.
Bizarre. Yeah. I think the good old fashioned cancel culture got to her. I think she was great too. I think she's done a lot of really funny, entertaining things and done a lot of good for a lot of people.
I think we can tie this into the Axl Rose, Dave Grohl thing too, where okay, what do you think super mega stars act like? Do you think they're nice to everyone? Is this really what you think? Okay, some are. I've heard Darius Rucker, as an example, is awesome to fans. But most of the people,
I think that's unique. I think when you start out, you don't ever expect that that's where you're headed, so you can't prepare for it.
Yeah, and I think, and we can't relate. It's got to be super exhausting to have people on top of you all the time, begging for your time, money, and attention, asking for autographs when you're out. Eventually, you're going to turn into an asshole, unless you're super special.
Yeah.
So and when I was reading about the Ellen stuff, I don't really, okay, she was mean to people, but that seems to be it. She was mean.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I will say, so I don't know why I saw this movie when it came out, but I did. I was probably, I mean, my wife maybe forced me to watch it. I do think it's good.
What year was it?
This came out in 2003.
So my son was born in 2003, so we would have been watching this when he would have been about 3 years old, I think, when we started watching it.
Yeah, and it's one of those Pixar. It was during the golden age of Pixar where they couldn't.
It really was.
And Monster I think probably,
Inc.
Toy Story 1 and 2 came out around this time. Yeah, they were just crushing it. So I think like it was just part of this cultural zeitgeist. I think everybody watched it. It was also it was on the tail end of when we could be like awed with visual things on the screen. Their underwater animation, nothing's ever come close to that up to that point. So it was like beautiful. It was a very aesthetically pleasing. Like now we're jaded by everything. Anything we see doesn't matter. But in 2003 to see underwater animation this way, it was fucking crazy.
Yes, and that same child went on to have a 10-year competitive swimming career, followed by some water polo. So
your son, based on Finding Nemo?
Maybe he took the water to heart.
Like I said, I was a huge fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and I went on to kill a bunch of teenagers.
I don't think that's the same. No,
I think it's kind of the same thing. Critics, 99% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, which begs the question: what 1% of the critics what asshole watched Finding Nemo? Because I don't care for this. This is not the kind of thing I like. A feel-good story with unbelievable animation. I don't like that. Okay, let's go on to your books, which again, let me say, delightfully unpretentious selections.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a movie. I have not seen the movie, FYI. I wanted to read the book first.
Yep.
It's intense, but very, very well written. Such great character development. She's clearly a talented author. It's the first book of hers that I've read. I just started reading a second one by her. There's a type of genre that I like, and you'll see that the other two are written by Leanne Moriarty. So there's something about it where there's these wonderful moments of people coming together in the most beautiful way, and then like this crash and things are ripped apart and you're not expecting it.
Yep, I read the synopsis. I watched some reviews on it. This is what I came up with for the psyche of the American woman, because I think this is a darker version of a Hallmark movie. Hear me out. It seems to be what every woman wants is a gorgeous but semi-abusive neurosurgeon, and then a guy that loved her in high school, and there needs to be drama, and they need to be fighting over her in some way. One of the reviewers said this guy, the main antagonist or whatever the fuck he is, Ryle, gave her 50 Shades of Grey vibes. So you need like one super attractive, successful asshole juxtaposed with, in Hallmark movie, it would be the small town guy. In this case, it's the one she loved in high school. But it seems to be there's a thread in the and then I start to think, well, that's goofy. But then I worship football. I have heads of Tom Brady. Like, why is this any more legitimate of an art form that to be obsessed with? It's not.
It's not.
It's not, but it's, you know what I mean? But we look at this, we go, oh, this is fucking ridiculous. And then we watch grown men smash into each other, go, this is good.
This
stuff.
is good. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think at the end of the day, there's a message hidden in here that's so beautiful, that as she comes through that and realizes, I mean, this is relatively new, so again, spoiler alert, but as she realizes, I mean, the line, it ends with us, she's breaking a cycle. That's a powerful thing for people in that, space to do, or a lot of different types of abuse. There's more than just physical abuse out there, to be fair.
Yeah, I guess it's some breaking moment, like they're drunk, they're making dinner, he burns his hand, she laughs, and he smacks her, and then it just goes downhill from there. Is that the general, the gist of
that? Was like moment number one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's never just the one moment, I don't think.
That's right.
Public service announcement. This is what
she turns it on him at the end. Again, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, turn it off. Don't turn it off.
Right.
But
mute it.
She turns it on him at the end because what happens is they have a daughter.
Right. Does the high school boyfriend beat the shit out of the neurosurgeon?
He does not.
Oh, gee. Well, I think that's a missed opportunity.
Maybe in the movie. I don't know.
When I remake the movie, I'm going to put that scene in. The next two are from the same author, Australian woman, Leanne Moriarty. You mentioned that. This bad boy. This is an HBO series, from what I understand. That's right.
It is. It goes beyond the book. I think the book is pretty much season 1, and everything after that is, not the book.
Yeah. Which is conceptually bizarre, I think, when you start. Did she have any hand in writing the other seasons, or did they
I don't know. But see how Stephen King says funny and scary. I think there's something about that I like.
A lot of the reviews did say that it was funny, and under the circumstance were the things about murder, and it's hard to make murder funny, but somehow she pulled it off, I guess.
Yes.
So the idea is that it revolves around 3 women. All 3 of these women have children. It's a very affluent area. And then at the beginning, they tell you that somebody dies, but they don't tell you who dies. And you kind of have to work through the story to find out who does.
That's right.
Who dies?
I can't tell. You have to read it.
You're going to get sued? I don't think HBO is watching this. I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's that same thing that I talk about with the other book. Is there's all these wonderful moments, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that. I like that type of genre. I think I like to be surprised as I'm going through.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the third book, I wouldn't have guessed the secret. You go, oh, it's going to be murder again, but she couldn't go back to the well. She did something different. Let me just talk about this for 1 second. So it goes, as the story unfolds, secrets about their marriages, children, and personal lives are revealed, culminating in a shocking murder at school trivia night. That bothers me, because bar trivia is my favorite thing in the world. And I'd never even considered that I might be murdered on some trivia night, but now I'm a little concerned.
Yes.
Okay. Well, she wrote another book about secrets.
But the thing is, in Big Little Lies, it's an accident.
Oh, the murder. But then,
it's not an intentional murder, which is why they go through this whole process of trying to like, shit, how do we cover this up? Doesn't that happen in other, things that you read or 2020 or Dateline or, any of that? It's like, oh, crap, that wasn't meant to happen. But instead of going to the police, you just go through this whole other elaborate situation. That's kind of what happens.
That's even more horrifying. So you're telling me somebody accidentally dies at school trivia night?
Kind of.
I would much rather be premeditated, because then I can stay out of that situation. I don't want to accidentally die at trivia night. That seems more likely. All right, let's talk about our next book, The Husband's Secret. Do you want to recap this one real quick?
I mean, it's a lot of her books. She jumps from one character to the next. Like a chapter might be dedicated to a character. It all comes down to bad decision making. True.
Ain't that the truth? Alex plays bar trivia with me.
She's right. So, yeah, it's a happily married couple, and then he goes off and does something he shouldn't do, and she finds out, and it's a whole thing involving kids and everybody.
I needed to know, just based on the title, what The Husband's Secret was. So
yeah.
AI was kind enough to tell me. I'm just going to spoil it. You would never think that this is the direction it's going to go. He's banging his cousin, right? That's the thing.
His wife's cousin.
Oh, his wife's cousin. Oh, I thought it was his cousin. I thought it was incest. Oh, never mind. He's just having an affair.
Cousin.
It's the wife.
And then there's this unsolved murder of a daughter. And then again, it's like she says, it all comes back down to bad decision making. Like something happens, you cover it up, it comes out years later and destroys you anyway.
I'm glad it stayed away from his cousin, only because I was like, well, that's just a Tuesday in Alabama. But as it turns out, it's
I thought you were going to say Arkansas, but Alabama.
I don't know. They're all the same to me. I live in Massachusetts. We invented America, though. You can't take that away from us. Okay, your last meal. I got to tell you, one of the finest last meals I've ever seen. It completely indulgent. There's no.
My last meal. I mean, this is all I've got left in life.
I cannot tell you how many people with one of the drinks go water. Like what are you talking about?
No.
All right.
Oh, look at that bacon.
Candied bacon. I have said this on the show more times than I can count. The great thing about American cuisine is that it has no credibility. We are not tied to the past or tethered to any tradition. Once we find something we like, we just keep throwing shit on top of it
to make it better or worse. That's the case.
Yes. But we try, and that's what candied bacon is. Bacon is unbelievable by itself, and they were like, you know what would make bacon better? Fucking candy on top. And that's what we did. So candied bacon, what do you make it? Do you get it out? Like what's?
No, I don't make it. I get it out. But you know, they do this now where they make different flavors of it. So it's got different kinds of seasonings, and they put these cute little clips on it and hang it and bring you scissors and you cut off the bacon. It's fantastic.
Some people criticize that, and I love pretentious buffoonery. The goofier you can make the meal experience. My argument with this goes back to music with my father, because like, I like hair metal, and he was like, no, I just get on stage and play. I'm like, no, if you can also wear eyeliner and set something on fire and worship Satan and also play music, I want that. That's the equivalent. Yeah. Okay. You could put bacon on a plate, but if you could hang it like clothes,
hang it and use tiny little tongs and scissors. So great.
We are spiraling towards death. Put a little effort into the presentation.
That's right. That's right.
I don't understand people that hate weird serving apparatuses, because I love them. So candy bacon, 10 out of 10. Then you're going lobster bisque, which one of the finest soups.
So delicious. Put a little bit of dry sherry on top too, if you don't mind.
Okay, dry sherry. So again, I'm kind of making this about me, but I had a soup once. It was either in Connecticut or Rhode Island. I forget. I was at a boat show for some company I worked with. I got a lobster bisque, and they put anise in it, which you wouldn't think would go. And it was un-goddamn believable. The problem is I don't remember what state or what restaurant, so I'm never going to have it again.
But maybe you'll stumble upon it.
Yeah. I have this theory too. I hope, I'm agnostic, so I'm just making up what happens after death. You know that book, Tuesdays with Morrie? Have you ever heard of that? Mitch Albom. He wrote this other book called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And the whole premise is that there's 5 people throughout your life. They're probably not your spouse, but they're just people that, guided you through life in some way. And then you get to meet them in heaven. I hope my heaven initially is the 5 sandwiches you meet in heaven, which were the 5 best sandwiches you had while you were alive. Because I think that would be perfect for heaven. If there's a sequel, I hope it's the 5 soups.
And it's your lobster bisque
with the anise. Yeah. So that, because it was unbelievable. But soup, stews, broths, bisques, just everything floating in liquid is just it's a delight.
It's good.
So you've gone very heavy for the first 2, and then for the third as well. So you wrote loaded mashed potatoes, which I've had a lot of loaded baked potatoes. I didn't even know loaded mashed potatoes were a thing.
Mash it up and do the work for me, so I don't have to dig it out.
This is one of those things that's just hidden in plain sight. Like, we know mashed potatoes are better than baked potatoes. Like, they're both great, but we know that loaded mashed baked potatoes are good. Why not load the mashed? I mean, this is like, this is a revelation to me, because I've never seen it on a menu. I've never seen a picture of it. I've never seen.
You're missing out. Yes.
Yeah. Obviously. Is this like a Texas staple? Is this everywhere?
So I'm going to tell you that there's a steakhouse in Florida that I've gone to that I can get all 4 of these things at. Oh.
Steakhouses. Steakhouses are a gift.
They really are.
I'm going to do loaded mashed potatoes the next time I bring something somewhere, and people are going to hail me as a hero. And I'm going to pretend I invented it.
They will.
Yeah, because
put it in an aluminum pan that you can leave there, because they're going to want to keep the leftovers.
That's good advice. But yeah, I mean, this again, I say this on the show a lot too. So I did like the 23andMe thing. So I'm predominantly Irish. So I'm allowed to say things like this. The Irish are known for their potatoes. We've taken potatoes way further than the Irish could ever hope to. Look what we're doing with it.
They just grew them well.
They grow them and they boil them
so much better.
Oh my God, we've turned it into art. They boiled it, maybe a little salt. Stop it. Look at what we've done with your America.
So 23andMe segue. I also did 23andMe. I'm British, Scottish, English, Irish, all of those things. Yeah. I was also adopted, which I knew from a very early age. And 23andMe introduced me to. I'm the oldest of 7 half siblings that I didn't know about for most of my life.
This is the beauty of 23andMe. You can't hide anything anymore. Like, everything's coming home to roost. Did you meet? Yep. So half. So who was
4 on the dad's side and 3 on the mom's side.
Your parents had 7 mystery children?
I'm the oldest, so they went on to have children with others after me. I'm the only one
never
they had.
and just didn't let you know. So they weren't married and just all just procreating on the. Well, it would be hard for the mother, I would imagine.
That'd be really tough. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Have you met them?
No, I did not get an opportunity to meet them.
Are they okay? Well, if any are alive, I don't want to dig too much. I think you should send them this episode because they're going to know a lot about you. Then, see, this is the beauty of this. Once they see this, you're going to have a lot of groundwork for conversation because they know what you like for music, movies, food. It's really doing you a favor here. Okay. You've gone a little lighter with the 4th, which is Brussels sprouts. You didn't specify. Did you say roasted? No, I just roasted them for you.
That's how they should be.
That's how they should be. And you know what I like about Brussels sprouts? They go great with the balsamic glaze and blue cheese. Oh my God.
Okay. So my favorite restaurant down the street here, where I literally have my table that they'll get ready for me when I go. They have a great Brussels sprout with cashews and like this kung pao kind of sauce. And one of the bartenders made a creation out of it. Add goat cheese and roasted chicken.
Oh my God, I love goat cheese. I'm a huge soft cheese guy. I think the softer the cheese, the better the cheese.
Totally.
Until it comes out of a can, then you've gone too far. You got to back it up like a mile.
Yeah.
So there's for years, I think Brussels sprouts and asparagus were just despised by people. That's because you were getting them out of a can and they've been sitting in water and preservatives for 6 months before you put them back into a more water and boil them again. That's not the way to go. If you prepare anything the right way, it's going to be great. And these are a perfect example. Who doesn't love roasted Brussels sprouts? Communists, probably.
Communists, yeah.
All right, let's go on to the second half of your meal, which I find to be equally delightful. You've gone with filet mignon. Are you doing a sauce of any particular variety?
I don't need to do a sauce. If the filet mignon is cooked well, there's no real need for a sauce.
That's very un-American of you, but I'll take it because we love throwing sauces on shit. I like a blue cheese compound butter on top of steak. I think the more...
I don't mind that, but it's not necessary, again, if you do it right. But yeah, I don't mind it. Or truffle butter.
Oh, truffles. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Things white people like: sea salt, hiking, Disney, truffles.
Himalayan sea salt. Get it right.
Himalayan sea salt. Yes. Pink Himalayan sea salt. The more pretentious the salt, the more Caucasia celebrates it. So you're doing filet mignon. Then you're doing mignon. And then you're doing a blackened salmon. I think salmon is the best fish. I don't even think it's close, but I like that you specified you're going to blacken it too.
Yes. A little kick.
Little Cajun action on there.
Yes.
I learned that blackened because I watch America's Test Kitchen every night because I support public television. Blackened is just burnt. It's just a whole bunch of spices that are burnt on top of thing. I thought it was more sophisticated than that, but no. There it is.
Yeah.
Here's another.
Just as simple as that.
Yeah. I think salmon does well with the sauce, like some sort of creamy shit. But again, this is your meal. What I like about your next 2 selections is that you were very specific. I've had people on the show that'll go, I just want some Cabernet. But I'm like, you got to go make, model, and year if you're going to be a wine person. I'm not a wine person.
I am a wine connoisseur. And listen, it's only from drinking so much of it. It's not from studying any other way than just consuming it. But Chilani is one of my absolute favorites, and their the family is particularly delicious. In fact, I finished a bottle of it last night.
That's awesome. And it's not super expensive. It's like $100 and something a bottle. Is at the ballpark? Yeah. That's a good price point. And I like what you said because wine people like to pretend that they're not drinking. I think the whole pretentious wine thing is like, oh, you're picking up the tannins. And no, you're just like getting drunk and pretending that's not what you like doing. You're hiding behind the pretension of the thing. But you were honest about it, which is that I just like drinking it, which is
it's just delicious. I'm just telling you, it's just delicious. Now I can talk to you about the tannins and how it was aged and what kind of barrel and stainless steel. I can do all that too, but I really just like drinking it.
Yeah, I just don't. When I'm drinking, that's the last thing I want to. But with the slight caveat that I'm a bourbon drinker, and sort of that wine pretension buffoonery has come over to bourbon. So now we talk about, oh, this tastes like leather or it tastes like a fucking baseball glove, which I guess the same thing. But like we do the same thing, which allows me to hide behind, I just like to drink. But I think wine and bourbon have that same thing in common, and IPAs at this point too. People can pretend. Just admit you like drinking.
Not an IPA fan, not a beer fan in particular. I don't mind it. It makes me full, so I can either eat my dinner or drink my beer, but not both, and that's really not a good combination. So
You have to work through the pain. That's the only way you get to nirvana.
And I'm sorry if you can hear these guys next door to me. I'm like, y'all need to calm down over there.
It's okay. We're almost at the end, and it's picking up steam now because the tequila. So you want Michael Jordan's tequila on the rocks. I guess I had heard Jordan had his own tequila, but doing this research, I am ashamed of myself because it's 5 NBA owners, 2 of which own the Celtics, who I'm a fan of. I had no idea. Wick Grossbeck is one of the 5 of the Cinco, whatever. So,
so what's interesting is when I selected that tequila, when I first had it and selected it, I didn't know whose it was. I'm just like, I need a pure tequila. I'm looking for an añejo. That's a cool bottle. Let me try it.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
So I didn't find out until after that it was his, but it's very, very delicious sipping tequila.
I think the idea of sipping tequila is batshit crazy. I love it. I'm so glad it's a thing, but I don't think I had this conversation the other day with somebody. I forget who. There's not a larger gap between garbage booze and great booze than there is between shitty tequila and great tequila. They need to we need to rename one of those 2 things because they don't fly. Like shitty gin and great gin. There's a huge difference, but not the cavern isn't as big as it is between like Cuervo and sipping tequilas, you know?
Oh, I think that's incorrect. That's a big chasm. Yeah, a big chasm between Cuervo and this. No question.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the gap is larger.
In the headache you might have the next day. Same with wine, by the way.
Yeah, shitty wine is pretty bad too. Like Mad Dog 2020. Yeah. You ever had that? That's not so good. Yeah. I guess, okay, the cavern might be as big there, but tequila is night and day difference. And good sipping tequila is just, it's a delight. All right, so you're a little drunk, you're full of meat and potatoes, and then you're going.
And now I'm dying.
But there's one more thing we can't forget, which is you're going creme brulee.
Yeah, straight up every time.
Creme brulee is an event.
I'm having the creme brulee.
Yeah, I like I like things that have things involved, and with this, it's the cracking of the top is satisfying, isn't it?
It is.
It might be the only, desserts, I don't know, like something that's flaming maybe, but this is, you can't argue with it. Classically French, I believe, right?
Sounds French.
Creme brulee.
I'll go with it, yeah.
If creme brulee is Chinese, I'll be very, very confused.
If it is, I'm changing my answer.
You've never had a Chinese creme brulee? I'm sure it's fantastic. Yeah, it's crunchy, it's creamy. They usually put berries on top, which is nice, and that's it's aesthetically pleasing. And it's, if a place has creme brulee, it's probably fancy. I don't think Applebee's has a creme brulee, for example.
No, and isn't it fun when they put fruit on a dessert? Doesn't it make it feel just a tiny bit more healthy?
It absolutely does, because nobody ever hands you a Twinkie with like sliced mango on top. So if you're getting dessert with fruit, you're in a classy establishment. Oh, see, I play trivia with Alex. This is why I'm concerned about being murdered, because you go out, you have some sipping tequila, creme brulee, and then somebody murders it. And you almost had a great night. It was almost perfect.
He was right. Bad decision making.
It always comes down to bad decision making. All right, ready? Let's go with your quote. Look, I did this one because it's funny. Some days you have to create your own sunshine. What is this?
What you don't know is my father passed away in September of 22, and his favorite flower was the sunflower. So very great choice of that cute picture. Yeah, I don't have anything really impressive about this either. Out visiting relatives in Flagstaff, Arizona. We're shopping, and my son, again, the 20-year-old, picks up this little tray that has that saying on it. I took a picture of it, and it's like my screensaver on my computer. It has been for a year. I mean, that's like a decade ago. And I just think that's so true. There's going to be a lot of days that are a shit show, so you might just have to create your own sunshine those days.
I like that, and I think it ties into this general theme you have about not being pretentious, not living your life. I mean, you are a CEO, but clearly these are not like CEO-driven answers. One of the things that fascinates me about places like LinkedIn is you talk to all these people that I think are acting as if. So they're doing like, listen, I wake up at 4 a.m, then I journal, and I take a cold shower, then I go hiking, and like you are deriving yourself, in my estimation, of any hedonistic pleasure. And that's right. I don't know where you're getting happiness from. Maybe it is the idea of sacrifice, but then you come out and like, this is your meal. That is creating your own sunshine, I think, or loving it, right? And I'm not just trying to kiss your ass, but I'm saying like loving great wine and loving great tequila and loving loaded mashed potatoes is creating your own sunshine, I think, isn't it?
So yes, it's so good. I'm gonna tell you, I went to the gym this morning, and I work out so that other people in my life don't die, because I would be a very unhappy person if I couldn't burn off some of that energy and get some endorphins going. So I work out on behalf of the others in my life. But I saw this guy, and I'm not a gym rat. I go to the gym twice a week to do some stuff, and then I'm more of a runner. But I saw this guy, and I mean, he is like so fit and so ripped. He's not a big guy, but he's just so ripped. And all I could think was, man, you must not have any fucking fun at all. You're waking up early, you're drinking water, you're eating clean, you're not sipping tequila. I do not want to hang out with you at all.
On MTV once, remember Usher? He was a big deal. Remember Usher? And they're like, they did a whole thing about how he gets his abs because he's famous for his abs. The things that Usher had to do to get those abs, like no eating after 7, no alcohol, no sugar, no carbs. Like, what are abs getting you everything you want? That's replacing all those great feelings. It cannot possibly be. I'm sure he's getting laid. Don't get me wrong, but you're famous anyway. He's super famous. He doesn't need the abs.
He doesn't need the abs.
No,
they look good in pictures and videos, but
right, but it doesn't taste good like tequila. I don't think.
No.
Would you rather?
No sugar, no carbs, no fun. That's what I would say.
Right. I think hedonistic pleasure, especially in certain places, i.e. LinkedIn, is so conceptually. It's like it's almost Puritan. Like if we go, listen, if everybody thinks we're perfect, they'll hire us. And won't that be great? Is Usher still a big deal?
It'd be nice, yeah.
What is Usher's last hit? Can anybody do it? If I had a producer, I'd have somebody. What was last thing?
He was just here in concert like a week ago. 3 nights, I think. So he's still kind of, as Sarah says, he's still kind of a big deal.
Define big. Although I'm so on the outside, like every time a celebrity does something, gets in trouble, I have no idea who they are. I finally reached the age where I was like, I'm never going to be that person. I'm always going to know what's going on. I have no idea if somebody hosts Saturday Night Live, never heard of them. If they're the musical act, certainly never heard of them.
But Stevie Nicks is going to be on there, or just was.
Okay,
Stevie Nicks. Her.
Yeah. If you were in a rock band in the 70s, I got you. If you're famous now, I have no idea who you are. Even if you were very famous in the mid 2000s, I don't know. You're still putting out music. Thank you for being on. Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. It was very fun. I appreciate you reaching out.
No problem. And we talked a lot about Hootie and the Blowfish, which doesn't happen on the average Wednesday.
Listen, I learned a lot about Hootie and the Blowfish from that too. So
that's what I do.
I'm sound with my choices.
I think your choices are bizarre and interesting, which is all I ask for. I just thank God you didn't say the Beatles and Prince. I never wanted. They're fine. I have nothing against them, but I cannot talk about the Beatles and Prince anymore. I'm going to log off. Can you stay in the green room for a minute just so we can chit chatty? All right. Thank you for tuning in, America. I'll be back on Monday. I don't think I have a guest tomorrow, so I won't be here. But listen, enjoy your Thursday. Goodbye.